Okay, so if you know anyone who's died from heart disease, please raise your right hand and hold them up. If you know anyone who's died from cancer, please raise your left hand and keep them up. Okay. So I want to make you can let your hands down. So everybody raise their hands to most of those, to almost all of you, to both of those. That's why we're here. I want to make a suggestion. We're in a series right now. The first was about nutrition. The second was about exercise. This one is about peace management. We don't really want to manage stress, okay? How many of you have heard of the type of language of pointing positive? So in other words, to our kids, we don't want to tell, if our kids are playing dangerously next to the edge, we don't want to say, don't fall, right? Because what are they going to do? Our reticular activators, we're going to fall. We want to say, stay safe, stay upside, stay on the top of that, right? So with us, we want to manage peace into our lives. Everybody say peace. 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 That's what we're going to engineer. So we have how many of you agree we're in a crisis in our health systems in this country right now? We're in a major crisis. Major. So this series is all about getting people healthy, living the abundant life. So stress is not just mental, it's biological. So what does biological mean? Mental means it's just kind of stuck in our heads and it only affects our thinking, right? So what does biological mean? It affects our whole body. That's exactly right. So there are 3 types of stress: physical, chemical, and emotional. So chiropractors for over 100 years have talked about the 3 T's of stress, okay? Thoughts, obvious, most of us know that. Toxins, meaning chemical stress, and traumas, or physical stress. Now we'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but like the American Psychological Association, marriage and family therapists, they view traumas as only emotional traumas, like the things that we've all been through at some level or another. So, but all 3 of these are very, very important. So the traumas include everything from bad posture to car accidents. Toxins are anything we put into or onto our bodies, more on that in a moment, that of course are toxic. Thought stress increases the amount of stress hormone, which causes increased inflammation. So inflammation kind of should be with a capital I, which is implicated in every disease known to man, okay? Does anyone know what the main stress hormone is? What's it called? Cortisol. Brilliant. We're going to be talking a lot about cortisol. So stress is one of the leading causes of death in America. Now, not just I'm a little bit worried, I'm a little bit short, but it's one of the leading causes of death. Chronic stress is defined as 3 months or longer, increases our chances of all major diseases. And the American Association of Psychology says that the top 4 causes are money, work, family responsibilities, and health problems. Now, what they're again saying is what? All things that kind of stay up in our heads, which is just as important as they say it is, without question. It's just that it's not inclusive of everything. So many of you may know this book, Viktor Frankl. Some say Frankl. It's Frankenstein. If you ever saw, what is that movie? Young Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein. Sorry, everything is a movie and everything is funny to me, and that's one of the reasons I stay as healthy as I am.
Abby and Abby Normal.
Yes, Abby, brilliant. So he wrote a very famous book called Man's Search for Meaning. And so he was a prisoner in many concentration camps. I don't know how many, 3 or 4 different ones. Went through the worst torture that we can imagine, physical, chemical, and emotional stresses at a level that I have absolutely no imagination of what that was like. But he left it with an amazing freedom inside himself. And what he said was 2 of his most important quotes in those books are, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And when we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So this is all a journey about ourselves, okay? So your health is actually whose responsibility? It's yours. It's not your chiropractors if you have one. It's not your medical doctors. It's not your physical therapist. It's not your fiance, your spouse, your neighbor, anybody else. It is 100% your responsibility. And so a lot of what we're going to be talking about, and some of you may know this, and this may be brand new for some of you. Either way, it's okay. It's good to have a review if you know this. The autonomic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that controls our digestion, our organ systems, our hormones, our energy, our cellular replacement, all of these things. That's called the autonomic nervous system, and that's controlled from our brain through our spinal cord. There are two sides to the autonomic nervous system, and they're sort of opposed to one another like a teeter-totter, okay? So parasympathetic, feel free, looks like you're up front. You're in traction, you're not in trouble, you're not punished, but you are up front because you're a latecomer, but it's not your fault, but you're not in trouble. So these work as sort of dueling banjos. I might be dating myself by explaining what dueling banjos are. But so from the musician, you know, of course, know what that is, Ken. So parasympathetic side of the nervous system is what we call wine and dine, rest and digest, and there are other names. That's the state that we should be in the vast majority of the time. This is where we regenerate cells. This is the state in which we eat pizza and ice cream, and tomorrow it's going to be eyeballs and kidney cells and fingernails, which is an absolute miracle, right? That's where we should be most of the time. So this means our pupils are relaxed and constricted, normal saliva flow, our heart rate is normal and relaxed, our lungs are constricted, they're not super dilated and open, stimulates stomach, pancreas, and intestine function, stimulates bile release to digest our food, and contracts our bladder. Sympathetic is this. This is designed so that, let's say a T-Rex came and crashed through the doors right here, right now. We're going to have an instant physiologic change that we call fight or flight or sympathetic. That is designed so we can either fight it and kill it or run away from it and survive it, okay? So we call that fight or flight, and what that does, dilates our pupils, inhibits saliva flow, accelerates heart rate, dilates bronchi, stimulates stomach, pancreas, and intestines to digest food, to last and fight it, converts glycogen to glucose, which is also cortisol primarily, secretes adrenaline, and inhibits bladder contraction. So that is for emergencies only, okay? Now, how many of you think that in modern day society, the tails tend to skip a little bit toward the sympathetic or the right side or the fight or flight? There is our problem. This is why a psychological problem, so when the T-Rex comes through the door, crashes through there, we have an immediate problem, but our body doesn't perceive it except how our brain and mind perceives it, right? So we have a very real threat, and so we need to figure out how to fight that or run away from it, right? But what happens is our brains and other physical, chemical, and emotional stresses, they keep us in this state nearly all the time, and it's producing major disease processes. Does that make sense? That's why it's biological, because thoughts alone, or chemical or physical stresses, they change our entire physiology. Okay, we're going to demonstrate this in a little bit so you understand it at a higher level. So I could go through all of this, but we know that chronic stress is a major cause of disease. So did you want a picture of that? You want me to rewind that? Yes. Is the word rewind? By the way, questions are super welcome. Okay, I have time to cover whatever we need to. Dr. Silverman, Harvard psychiatrist, based on his research, says that a person cannot get sick without a stress factor being involved. Cannot get sick. That's a pretty profound statement, isn't it? So this is how that operates. Gray's Anatomy, 29th edition, says the nervous system controls and coordinates all organs and structures of the human body. So this is how you're starting to see how the brain can create cortisol release and can create shifts in the heart and lungs, blood pressure, eyes, everything else, because it's all regulated through the neurospinal system. So we're going to be talking quite a bit about that because it's absolutely critical. So one way to instantaneously put ourselves in a chronic fight or flight sympathetic state is to have vertebral subluxation. Now, whether you knew that or didn't before now, it's critical that you know this, which is why I'm a chiropractor, not some other type of doctor. As some of you know, I was studying pre-med at UCLA, wanted to become a spinal surgeon until chiropractic saved my life. A little bit more about chiropractic in my life, but the neurospinal system is a huge piece to this. We have lots and lots of studies on this, but this is kind of an interesting one that I haven't talked about for a while if you've been to a lot of my talks. This is the Cato study, Deborah Cato, brilliant study, over 1,300 subjects. She wanted to figure out why are so many people dying from heart disease. Found out that the highest predictors are not blood pressure, not cholesterol, but it's actually your posture. What she found is that she took these 1,353 subjects, and when they have a hyperkyphosis or too much curve in the middle back, she put people on their backs, and however many pillows it took before their head could rest on there, that was what predicted. When she found that people over 1.7 centimeters or people over just about 2 inches, that was the highest predictor of death from heart disease that she could identify in anything. In a huge study, this is a landmark study. So this was, of course, all over the news. Forget your cholesterol medication, forget your blood pressure medication. Immediately, everyone who has any sort of heart problem, start exercising, correct your posture, and start eating right, right? That's what all of us heard on the news, right? Absolutely not. What we heard was, nope, take your freaking Lipitor, right? Even though it's never been shown, the highest profit drug in the history of man has never been shown to reduce deaths from heart disease. Did you know that? We know it lowers cholesterol. That's why they got it in there. Yes. Does lowering cholesterol fix the problem? Hey, oil lights on. Hey, Mason, my oldest son, hand me the spray paint. Spray out the oil light. Problem fixed, right? Our health is our responsibility. We have to take care of it. And I laugh because I've given talks like this for years, and I swear, this dawned on me one time. I was giving a webinar on nutrition, and it dawned on me that people think that literally, because I teach this stuff, that in my house, we open up the pantry and golden angelic light, and every time we feed our kids, it's peace. They eat everything we put in front of them. They eat their vegetables. The pantry sings in angelic tones. Golden light comes from it. We battle the same stuff you guys battle. I promise, okay? And we do pretty well at it, I must say. We've done well at it. And some of you know, I had a severe accident back in October, almost 6 months ago. I broke my neck body surfing, severe trauma, and my wife, I wasn't going to say any of this. My wife begged me to tell you a little bit more about the story about what happened with this. She's like, you stayed cool as a cucumber with this, and they need to know it. I don't like necessarily to talk about me. Anyway, she's like, people want to know. I'm like, they don't care. So, long story short, I'm body surfing. I've done that my whole life. It's Maryland. I've never even heard of body surfing in Maryland. And I'm body surfing for like an hour, doing fine. It's a shore break, which means the water breaks right onto the sand. In this case, it was like the dry sand that you would never normally want to run on. Crazy, because it broke so far over the beach. Well, doing just fine, and a wave comes up, and I'm surfing it fine, but then I think what happened is another wave came up and stacked me vertically, and I landed straight on my head, breaking my C5, exploding all the ligaments in there, and horrible contusion or bruise to my spinal cord. So immediately, I was calm. I had this weird transcendent peace because I ended up tearing my vertebral artery, which could have been life or death, and luckily it didn't bleed. I have no doubt that either an angel or God himself caught me and protected me. I have no doubt. But this super weird peace. My son pulled me out of the water and rescued me, but I was relaxed. And I said, son, pull me out of the water. He did. I actually yelled, help! Bad. That's what I could say, because this leg was completely paralyzed. This arm was completely paralyzed. This leg was mostly paralyzed, so I barely got up out of the water and said, Jake, help! Like, who saw 16 Candles? Where Jake, it's Anthony Michael Hall, and he's under the table stuck, and Jake Ryan, the super popular guy, has anyone seen this? Am I just, okay. He's under the glass table, he's like, Jake! He's stuck. Oh, sorry, I digress. So I'm like, Jake, help, bad. So he rescues me, gets me out of the water, and I'm relaxed. All these people around me, and I said, I think I've fractured C5. I'm gonna need, serious help here. So they airlifted me, surgery. I have screws up and down my neck now, which you don't ever want, I promise. But the point is that my wife said, you must tell them that all the preparation that you did, not just mental and knowing physically what happened in my body, but all the stress relief preparation that you did led you to surviving, but also to being able to be calm in that situation and maybe functioning way better because of it. And I like books. I know we're all probably big fans of books. This is a famous book that many of you may know. Now I already don't know what I did with my pen. It was there, I know, Connor. He's like, thank you, sir. Very good. This is, it's an old book, but a very, very famous and a very valuable book. And this is Stephen Covey, some very, very important things about life management. What he said is that every activity that we can do fits in 1 or 4 categories, okay? So this is called the time management matrix. And so the upper, and you can draw this if you want, which I recommend you do. The upper left quadrant is urgent, every activity, urgent. Now this arm doesn't write that well because it's pretty injured, so forgive my bad writing. Urgent and important. Upper right, I'll move out of the way in a second. Not urgent. But important. Bottom left is urgent, but not important. And the lower right is not urgent and not important. So I'm going to run through these to make it relevant. So urgent and important is, I never balanced my checkbook and I just wrote a check for $30,000 for a new, I don't know, motorcycle, right? And I only had $4,000 in my bank account. Urgent and important because it's a crisis, right? I never ever exercised, so now I'm in a major, major health problem, right? I never strengthened my neck, so when I had a body surfing injury, it took my life. That's very urgent and very important, okay? I'm going to skip this one for a second. Urgent and not important is the phone rings and it's spam, right? Do you guys all get that? Possible spam, what does it say? Anyway, I've had so many of those, it's unbelievable. So it's urgent because it's time sensitive, but it's not important because I really don't need a loan for whatever. Thank you very much. So that's urgent because it's time sensitive, but not important. Not urgent and not important is like checking your Facebook feed every 45 seconds, checking your Instagram feed every 45 seconds. Not urgent and not even really important, even though we might get joy and pick up on things like this. Happiest, healthiest, most successful people in anything live right here. Not urgent and not important. It means that I'm maintaining my checkbook. I'm talking to myself because I'm not very good at that sort of thing. I take care of my health. I spend time with my significant other very, very regularly so we don't blow up and go to category 1. The more time we spend here, the less time we spend here, okay? I spend time with my kids. I teach them. I focus on them. All these things that we do in the not urgent and not important. And it's, he did another example. He's actually done this live, and other people have done this live. But I love this example, and I've actually done it live, but it's a mess, and I don't know that it's that important to do it that perfectly. So he takes a huge jar, and he has a covered table covered with tablecloths, and he takes it out, and he puts a bunch of big rocks in it and stacks the rocks to the top. And he says to the audience, is this full? So indulge me and pretend I'm doing this there. You say, yeah, it's full, because you can't fit any more rocks that size in there. Then he takes out some slightly smaller rocks and stacks those and kind of shimmies them in. And he says, is it full? And you say, yes, it's full. Then he puts smaller pebbles, and then he puts sand. And he's teaching time management. That's the whole thing that he's teaching. And he says, well, in time management, of managing all your activities, what's the lesson? And most people say, no matter how many activities you got, you can still cram more in. And no, that's not the lesson. The lesson is if you don't fill your jar first with the big rocks, you don't have time to get them in at all. Okay, so tonight we're talking about what are the 5 big rocks of managing peace into your life. Everyone say peace. We want peace, and we can't manage it perfectly. We cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust our sails, right? So these are the 5 big rocks of peace management, and I love Yosemite. And if you've never been to Yosemite and you think your problems are big, not that that's a problem, but just go look and enjoy the glory of what God created. And there are thousands of places like this. The first one is neurospinal health. Now, if you didn't know about this, you should, because life itself travels from the brain through the spinal cord and out through the nerves between the bones of the spine. They don't only give life to every cell, tissue, and organ, but they direct its beautiful symphony to either abundant life or sickness. Everyone say, I want life and health. That's all we want, right? So my group of Chiropractic Biophysics, we've done over 366 peer-reviewed published studies. So there are tons of studies, and I have many, on how the posture affects our health. So we study a lot of that, but these studies are all like, and if you've been to these talks, you've heard me talk about just 5 centimeters of translation of your rib cage in front of your low back says that it's worse for your health-related quality of life, which is a very well-studied concept, than chronic heart failure, than chronic lung disease, chronic arthritis, just 5 centimeters. And I looked at President Biden as he saluted my son as he was graduating from the Air Force Academy, sorry. The 4th one's in the Naval Academy, and that's for another time. But I watched him, and as his posture's like this, I felt so bad for him, because that's it. We know that posture greatly determines health, but all these studies are just like, well, you're hosed. We just know it's bad, and what they say is wait till it's really, really bad, and then we'll fuse you with rods for permanent posture correction. That's what they say. So what we do is we study the same things and we contribute to the knowledge pool, but what we're mostly doing is showing that we can actually fix this stuff, and when we do, we have studies about blood pressure, lung capacity changes, pain levels, of course, immune system changes, heart rate variability, which is hugely tied in with being in a parasympathetic or wine and dine state, and even telomere length. If you don't know what that is, every single one of our cells has a DNA strand, and at the end of that is called the telomere. Telomere length is very strongly correlated with longevity and lifespan, but also health span, which is a newer term, which means that we're actually functioning into our older age. So we have a study that shows that multiple dudes' telomere length changed as he corrected his posture. Even brain blood flow, most of you have heard me talk about this. A good friend of mine, Dr. Evan Katz, did a study on blood flow to the brain, found that when the curve in the neck is reduced, it decreases blood flow to the brain by 50%. 50%. And you know anyone with like brain fog or fatigue, tiredness, headaches, but more importantly, it's not just, well, there's a problem, you're hosed, but he actually corrected these people. It's published in the journal Brain Circulation, a very prestigious journal, found that when we correct it through the exact same methods we do, it restores to normal, getting rid of headaches, causing all sorts of changes. Migraines gone, sciatica resolved through postural rehab, better digestion, focus, and restful sleep. Kids and adults experiencing reduced anxiety and more energy. So frequently, infants' colic gone instantly. And that's all because we're trained to think that the spine or the body in general has one job: hurt or not hurt. It does more than that, and it should do more than that. And when I ask the question, this chart, some of you heard me say this, if I ask you what percentage of the nerves have something to do with feeling, most people are going to say 100, but it's actually between 8 and 10. 8 and 10%. The rest of them are doing everything else we're talking about. They're regulating the autonomic nervous system. So taking care of that's going to be important. So some of you have seen this chart. We're going to go through it in some more detail. This is how one type of stress affects our entire body. Okay? So this looks like a lot, and it is a lot, and the truth is it's about 1,000 times more complicated than what I'm even going to go through here, because God is an awesome creator. Stressful thoughts, physical traumas, and chemical toxins create a subluxation or a misalignment of the spine, one bone or multiple bones out of alignment. Anyone know what the root word lux means in Latin? Light. Brilliant. 75 points for Deb. Good work. Okay, it means light. So condition of less light, subluxation, because there's a decreased life flow from the brain through into the body. So it affects the spinal cord immediately. The spinal cord affects the adrenal medulla. Okay, it's called, I won't tell you why it's called the adrenal gland, you don't really need to know. But what hormone does the adrenal gland produce? Adrenaline, brilliant. Okay, adrenaline. So that immediately goes to the amygdala of the brain, the small almond-shaped glands, organs in the brain that are they control fear, but they also control long-term memory storage, and affects the hypothalamic pituitary axis, which is why adrenal secretion, chronic stress in this adrenal system creates anxiety, depression, accelerated aging, ADD, ADHD, diabetes, obesity, trouble sleeping, high cholesterol, all these things. So what's happening is the spinal cord damage is regulating all of those things. The other place it goes is to the sympathetic. Okay, now hang with me. This isn't so complicated you can't get it. Everyone in here is smart enough. What is sympathetic? What did we talk about before? What does that mean? It's the autonomic fight or flight system. Perfect, brilliant. So it stimulates those autonomic, the sympathetic chains, which affect the immune system, blood pressure, all viscera organs, the discs, and muscle spindles, creating muscle spasms. So we think when we have back pain, it's just back pain, right? Take the Dones, right? Or take the Tylenol or whatever. Well, what does Tylenol do, by the way? The next place this goes is up to the cerebellum part of our brain that controls all the postural regulation of the body. Also goes through the thalamus, which is the major relay station. Every nerve signal in the body goes through the thalamus, the major relay station. Tylenol, by the way, it's what I took for 3 days after my surgery, but after 3 days I refused to take any of it because you know how Tylenol works? It suppresses the thalamus. It stops signals from moving. What happened to my little light? Did I turn it off? Whatever. So the technology in me. So it stops signals from flowing through the thalamus. That's how it shuts down pain. So we think, oh, the pain's gone. Perfect. I'm in good shape now. So that goes through the vestibular nucleus, all these different brain parts. That's how we're affected. Heart, lungs, GI tract, immunity, poor circulation to the muscles, affecting the thalamus. Again, the major relay station affects all these different systems in the body. So the stress response, as we talked about, increases all these things that create disease processes, decreases all these things that create healing in the body. So subluxation is one of the worst things that you can possibly have if you want to have health. The instant you're subluxated, you're going to have distress in your neurospinal system. So this is why we check. Forgive me for the boldness, but to me, it's criminal to come in and get your spine corrected while you leave your kids at home subluxated. It's just because you don't know. And kids are way easier to fix than adults. It's just because you didn't know. They grow up, they have traumas, they fall enough in a day to hospitalize you and me, right? Just learning to walk. And we think, oh, you know, he skinned his knee, let's just put the Band-Aid on it or whatever, right? Here, you have a fever, take the Tylenol. It's not because your atlas is subluxated. Just take the Tylenol, we'll just shut it down. Oh, but I'm more natural. We just do an alcohol bath. That's still shutting down the body's natural signals. So it's way easier and better to grow healthy kids than to fix broken adults. Super important. Number 2 is sleep. So the tough thing with these things is condensing these down into enough information or into an hour talk, let's put it that way. This book by Matthew Walker, he's a researcher at Cal. He's been on a lot of podcasts and stuff, Joe Rogan and these things. He wrote this book, Why We Sleep. It is an amazingly powerful book, and you will be blown away if you read this book. But like all healing in our body, the body heals during sleep, especially restorative sleep. Poor sleep can cause a weak immune function, foggy thinking, hormonal chaos, higher risk of disease. And he did this one study that showed 6 hours of sleep in one night, meaning that's too low, okay, for most people. I know some people who do well with 4, but they're few and far between. 6 hours is the equivalent of 0.08 blood alcohol content. Like, that means we're legally drunk, right? 0.08. I usually try to hover around, I'm just kidding. When I'm driving, I hover around, no, I'm just kidding. Sorry. So this is in his book, Why We Sleep, from the National Library of Medicine, plus notes of my own. So to improve your sleep, you're going to get this as a handout. If it's not already on your thing, we have them here. We check if, okay, good. So this is important. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day. Avoid caffeine, especially in the afternoon and evening. 25% of the caffeine is still in your body 12 hours after consumption. So if you drink coffee at 8 a.m., a quarter of it is still in your bloodstream at 8 p.m. That's a big deal, isn't it? Avoid nicotine, exercise regularly but not too late in the day or too much that your body is regularly overwhelmed. Avoid alcoholic drinks before bed. Now this is important because we all know someone, and maybe you once in a while, I know I had my day, pass out and think I slept super well, right? Drank too much. The truth is it's a sedative and it stops us from getting into deep sleep. You can read it in Matt Walker's book a lot more thoroughly, but it actually stops you from getting into deep sleep, which is one of the reasons why you wake up feeling hungover, okay, from too much alcohol, which also, this is coming later. Avoid large meals and beverages late at night because too many carbohydrates stimulate being awake. Don't take a nap after 3 p.m. Relax before bed. More about this in a moment. For example, by taking a bath. So cooling off in bed is a really, really valuable thing. I actually finally raised the pennies to buy an Ooler. It's a cooling device for my bed. Do you have one? Or you know what they are?
I have an 8 Sleep now, but I have an Ooler.
Similar. Game changer. My wife hates it. She doesn't even like being anywhere near it. She says, I feel like an ice cube all night. But we sleep better when we cool down our bodies and we cool down our skin temperature. So I have a lot of blankets on top, cold outside, but cold underneath me. It's a game changer for me. So my wife likes a very, very different temperature. So the reason I said that is because taking a hot bath, it actually cools your body because it brings blood to the surface of the skin and it cools it. So if you don't want to buy that type of thing for your mattress, then taking a hot bath right before bed can make a big difference. Reading or listening to relaxing music, always watch what goes into your head before bed. I mean, that's like the first lesson. But don't be watching Freddy Krueger right before bed. I mean, come on. Keep the temperature in your bedroom cool, as we just talked about. Get rid of distractions such as noises, bright lights, and a TV computer in the bedroom. Also, don't be tempted to go on your phone or tablet just before bed. Think cave in your bedroom at night. Avoid bright lights and blue light for at least an hour before bedtime. What does blue light tell us? It is daytime. Anyone see that old skit? Nighttime, daytime. The BBC animal voiceovers. Has anyone seen that? Hilarious. Nighttime, daytime. Anyway, so your brain, apparently they couldn't replicate this study, but I read about a study where they shined a flashlight on the back of somebody's knee and they measured their melatonin production. And not one person, multiple people's. And just by shining a light on the back of their knee, they found that melatonin production was greatly reduced. Now, I don't know, apparently someone else couldn't replicate the study, so there's some controversy, but either way, every light in my bedroom has some tape or something that may look goofy, but I don't care. If there's any light in your bedroom, you will not sleep as well. So get rid of the night light, whatever. Do whatever you have to do. Make your bedroom dark. Sunlight exposure early in the morning. A lot of us know this. This has been pretty popular around. It regularly sets your circadian rhythm, tells your brain when to be awake and when to produce melatonin, which is the main thing to help you fall asleep at night. By the way, the pineal gland that produces melatonin, that is under direct control, of course, of signals from your brain through your spinal cord. So you need to take care of your spinal cord. Don't lie in bed awake. If you can't sleep for 20 minutes, get up and do something relaxing. But don't go watch Freddy Krueger or have all this blue light in your eyes or whatever. So, and this is important. If you're having continued trouble sleeping and it's a chronic problem, go get sleep tested. I know there's some reputable people in town. I don't know that much about it, and I haven't needed this, but I've had my battles with sleep, and I've mostly got it under control through everything we're talking about. But sleep is so, so, so important for your daily life. Like, it's worth going to get a sleep study and trying to piece this out and puzzle it together. If I know some people who know some people in various fields. So if you need some help with that, let me know. Nutrients. So to get the detailed rundown on this, watch my nutrition talk. We talk about eating whole foods and how important and why. And that at the end of this, and actually right there is QR codes to be able to watch those on YouTube. We have them uploaded already. So, but I'm going to get into some important pieces as it relates to peace. So eat abundant foods all the time. Try to think of food as fuel and not just as enjoyment. I mean, I love to eat. I wake up in the morning thinking about what I'm going to eat 3 weeks on Friday, 3 weeks from now on Friday night. I've always been that way. My brother, who's 2.5 years older than me, he can forget lunch and like, oh, I forgot to eat lunch. That has not once happened in my entire life. So it's a battle for me all the time. And me, for Lent right now, I'm eating no refined sugar, like none anywhere. And it's like, oh, I just want some chocolate on Sunday night or something. It's the way I'm wired. So try to focus more on what you do get as opposed to avoiding foods. Make sure you're getting sufficient C, D, omega-3 oils, and a healthy multivitamin. My next and last talk in this series is on supplementation. But if you're stressed, you need even more. I was just listening to a podcast with Dr. Suzanne Humphries, just a brilliant doctor. She was saying that over 90% of the people who check into a hospital are vitamin C deficient, and when they leave, 100%. So, and it's weird because you go into a hospital, if you try to take supplements in a hospital, they treat it like it's like Norco or something. You're taking it I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, but I'm just saying you might have to hide it. You might have to go. This is what she said on the podcast. It was hilarious. You're totally fine bringing like a McDonald's milkshake in there. Dump out the McDonald's milkshake and put the vitamin C in there and drink that. Oh, that's healthy. That's safe. You're fine. We don't need to regulate that milkshake, but we do need to regulate the vitamin C. Minimize toxins, which are a chemical stress in our food. By now we all know seed oils, hydrogenated oils, so important. MSG and other neurotoxins. There is some belief that MSG and other neurotoxins, they're called excitotoxins, are not bad for you. Trust me, whoever told you that is flat out wrong. There's a book by an amazing neurosurgeon named Dr. Russell Blaylock. He wrote a book called Excitotoxins. Read a quarter of it. It's like this thick, and the dude is the most researched guy, insane. But trust me, keep MSG and excitotoxins out of your life. Yeah.
That's even part of the word.
Totally agree. Except they don't use the word toxins. That's how they get away with it. It's like, who was that comedian who said, she said, all bills have these super nice names to them so that we wouldn't ever want to vote against them. And I have to use a word that I'm not supposed to use because I have to complete this joke. I can't remember her name, but she says, be nice to retarded people, Bill. Be nice to people who are disabled, right? Like you would, of course, vote for that because that sounds like something you would want to do, or like the Patriot Act. It's like, we're all patriots, we're going to vote for the Patriot Act. But you look at it, it's like, I don't know if I want all this surveillance and all this stuff, you know. Anyway, so yes, if Doritos said cheese, corn, if they said like, you know, salt, genetically modified corn, excitotoxin 1, excitotoxin 3, excitotoxin 5, red 40 and all that, we probably would never buy them, right? So they don't label them as that. They're too smart for that. On your skin, too many lotions, sunblock, antibacterial soap, one of the worst inventions ever for keeping a healthy flora in our body. In our air, filter our home air and get outside. And try not to look at the chemtrails, but that's for another talk another time. In your water, filter your water, and no freaking plastic bottles for 1,000 reasons, but 2 are the main ones. Reproductive harm in your body. Epigenetic harm to your genome, which is passed from you to your kids and your grandkids. Plastic is bad news, okay? I know we're giving out plastic bottles here, I know. Use the filters. The filters are at every airport now. Use metal or glass, okay? Now, once in a while in an emergency, but also, what do they do to our environment? You know how many plastic bottles we have in our environment? Like a lot. I'm not crazy environmentalist, but I'm not crazy because I love where we live. So in our meds and our supplements, Thomas Edison, he was a patient of Dr. B.J. Palmer, regular adjustments from the developer of chiropractic. He said, if in one day all the medications were dumped into the ocean, it would be a great day for mankind and a terrible day for the fish. Okay, exercise. This we're going to talk a lot. We did talk a lot about at the last talk, so you can watch that. Remember, huge variety in our methods and intensity. Get outside. I get it, like treadmills are cool and fine, or the Peloton that I despise that I'm on every once in a while. It's cool, it is, and if you like it, you're in many ways way better than I am. It's so boring for me. But anyway, get outside, but no matter what you got to do, exercise. It does so much for your mood. Even if you get injured, it's like you're done and you're like, oh, I'm just so glad I did that. It's almost never bad. And I shared with you guys one of the last talks, one of my goals for this year was to complete a half marathon. I did it Sunday. I did it Sunday, and it hurts. It sucks. Like, that normally wouldn't be that much for me, but it hurts with this going on and this going on. But anyway, the feeling of accomplishment when you push yourself past something you didn't think you could do is awesome. This was Ironman training. Some of you know I did an Ironman a year and a half ago, which is a long-distance triathlon. And this was my wife, who she drove me there, dropped me off with my bike. I get out from swimming in the that's Whiskey Town, get off, go ride 100 miles on my bike. She just cleans up after me and puts it all away and talks to me on the whole way, and just that's what it's about. Now I would do that for her, don't get me wrong, not that she serves me, of course. But here's the thing. When you leave it all on the floor or on the trail or on the bike or on the rower or wherever you are, it just does something to your psyche. It transforms you. It changes your brain chemistry. If you've all heard of a runner's high, correct? If you've never experienced it, I highly recommend it. Most runs still kind of suck, let's be honest. But at the same time, sometimes you get this transcendent peace and joy, and it's just awesome. If you've never had it, I recommend you pursue it. Sweat every day. You want a better complexion, you want a better outcome, you want better physiology, you want to decrease your sympathetic tone and be in the parasympathetic or wine and dine, sweat some every day, doesn't matter how. Walk up a hill, on your Peloton, outside for a run, walk, whatever you do. But what critical error is he making? It's twofold. Plastic bottle of plastic Gatorade with sugar, all sorts of artificial toxins and poisons. There are sweat replacement, electrolyte replacements that are actually healthy. It is not Gatorade. But if I'm dying in a race or whatever, and someone hands me a Gatorade and it's either that or die, guess what I'm going to do? I'm finishing even if it takes a Gatorade. I drank my first Red Bull ever training for that Ironman because they hand them out at Ironman. And I've had 2 or 3, I can't remember, in my life. That stuff is nasty. But if that's what it takes is some rocket fuel to give you wings or whatever to finish the Ironman, I did it. And there's a rule of racing, nothing new on race day. So you have to train with what you're going to race with. Otherwise, you put that stuff in your body, you don't even know. You might explode in ways you didn't even imagine. This next thing is probably the most profound. And I've been teaching this for over 20 years, and I've honestly had only a handful of people come up to me later and say, I'm doing this every day, and it has changed my life. And I'm telling you, if you are the next one or ones, it will change your life. But it's so simple that many people just absolutely can't grasp it. And it's how we breathe. Now, the first thing is, if that T-Rex comes through here, my brain perceives the threat. The first physiologic mechanism that's going to change is going to be my breath. Instantly, it's going to be right there. And then from there on, it's going to be to fight and kill it or to run away from it, right? So that is what we call fight or flight breathing. And if I'm in a fight, if one of you came up here and punched me in the face, like when Will Smith whacked Chris Rock in the face, you can imagine he had some pretty sympathetic tone there, and his breathing changed. You can even watch it. Breathing changed and all that. So we have the power to change our physiology by changing our breath. That's what you stated it, and you know it for a fact. So guess what that means? We can do the opposite and change our physiology for the better. There's something called box breathing. It's so simple, it's almost stupid, but we're going to do it for a minute or so here, okay? I'd like everyone to sit up. Best posture. Squeeze your shoulder blades up into your ears. Roll your shoulder blades back and relax them down. And now keep that posture. Now we're going to learn box breathing. So simple and so effective. Before we do it, we're all going to do it together. Now this count can vary. Oh, my pointer's back. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4. You can go 5, 6, or 7. As you get better, you can increase this. Hold the breath in for a count of 4. Breathe out to a count of 4 and pause out for a count of 4. Okay? So we're going to all do that together. So everyone breathe out all the way. Now, other thing is through your nose. in my A-level performers who've ever done yoga, who's ever done some form of yoga. Another game changer. It's okay if you haven't. We'll talk more about that in a second. But there's a particular type of breathing that relaxes our physiology faster, and it's called, in Sanskrit, which you don't have to speak Sanskrit, it's called Ujjayi breathing. We constrict the back of our throat, like, everyone do this like you're trying to fog a mirror. Go. Now keep that same constriction and breathe in through your nose. Some have called it Darth Vader breathing. Everybody get why? Okay, so you don't have to do that, but you will enter the parasympathetic state faster if you do that. Okay, everyone? One more time. Shoulders up and back and down. Breathe out all the way through your nose. Breathe in. Deep breath in, hold it in. Breathe out through your nose. Hold it out. Breathe in. Hold it in. Breathe out. Hold it out. Breathe in. Hold it in. Breathe out. Hold it out. One more round. Hold it in. Breathe out. Hold it out. Okay, now open your eyes if they were closed. Raise your hand if you feel a little different from that, right? Now, picture 3 times a day, you put that in your iPhone that says breathe, and 3 times a day you do that for like 2 minutes. It's an absolute promise. You will experience more life in your body. Now, it can be done in multiple ways, but 2 particular ways. One is when you get cut off in traffic and you say, "You burn up, which is my tendency. When you're trying to turn right and they're coming from your left and they don't signal, and I'm right, man. You are a honey, that's wife in the passenger seat. Breathe. And I always respond with, "Yes, dear, you're so right." This morning, under total stress, literally, stress because we had to set this up and all these things and getting this printed and all this and getting the last video out, and then the most complex case of spine I've ever had, a 20-year-old girl ever, needs the highest tech of everything we do, all these different things all at once. An MD friend of mine coming in for this particular treatment, and it's complex, just like literally, of course, all at once. And I'm talking to Dee, and I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "Remember what you're going to teach." And I'm like, she's basically said, "Calm down." And of course I responded with, "Honey, thank you." Perfect, right? Of course. We all respond so well when someone tells us to calm down. But I'm telling you, box breathing will help you do that. Okay, so some of my Christian friends don't like yoga. I'm okay with that. It's just, you don't have to believe the same way I do about this. To me, God is not offended if I stretch and breathe. And I'm sincerely not trying to insult. Do your theology how you like, whoever you pray to. But I think God wants us in peace, and like peace. And when you connect with your body, there's so many ways to do this. Just that box breathing. Yoga, if you don't even want to do movement yoga, there's a thing called Yoga Nidra. There's hundreds of these videos on YouTube, which all you do, you can lie down or sit up, and they just walk you through. Feel your toes. Think of your toes. Think of your calves. Think of your knees. And it's like, you come out of it, you're like, oh. That's a meditation. Did you want to say something, Mary?
There's an app, Breathe, that
Yes.
has the breathing thing on your phone.
So good, so good. So write that down. So good. And that's a meditation. Meditation doesn't mean you're praying to someone else's God. It doesn't have to be scary. Peace is our natural default, but we're just not really doing it. And when you connect with your body in that way, peace is the automatic. We just forget. we're so in spasm and trust me, constantly I'm noticing, oh, my shoulders are up in my ears because I'm freaking out over something stupid. But the more we do this, the better. Spend quality time with those you love. This is my 4 boys, my favorite human on earth, my parents, and my mother-in-law. My father-in-law passed away just over a year ago. But spend quality time, not just looking at your phone and all these other things. And speaking of love, if you don't have a dog, how do you do it? How do you do it? When I had this is Maddie. She passed. She got this terrible tumor that did exactly what we're talking about with subluxation. It ate her trigeminal nerve, which went back into her spinal cord, into her brain, and she was 14 here in this picture. This is at the top of South Fork Mountain, which is where you run from way over there. Just amazing. The most awesome companion. It's dark. We tried to make it for the sunrise. We didn't quite make it, but it's like almost pitch black, and I have my headlamp in, and I'm running. And around a corner, she would go far away from me because she knew the trail. She knew everything. She runs a million miles an hour. She's a German short-haired pointer. So I don't know if you ever experienced them, but amazing. So I'm coming around the corner, and this rabbit is absolutely booking at me at like full clip, like, and her eyes are sympathetic, right? Pupils dilated, right? Lungs blown up, cortisol to the max, like stressed out, fight or flight. And I'm like, what the heck's she running from? Next come behind her is Maddie. Dad! I'm like, Maddie, stop! And she's like, I'm like, you can't do that. That's a rabbit. But it's her hunting instinct. But anyway, we get to the top and like, you're the best. Because she is the best. Because dogs rule. And this dog, we just adopted him from the Haven Humane Society. How do you get a golden retriever from Haven Humane Society? Because God digs me, that's how. And God knew that I needed this perfect animal at the perfect time. And when I was in pain, he would climb a little too hard on me with his elbows on my chair and like pain, but it was also just, Dad, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And this is at the top of, no, this isn't at Chemise Peak. This is past Chemise Peak on the ditch trail. If you've never seen the river from the ditch trail, talk about a slice of heaven. It's a must. But you got to have dogs. He's about a year. We don't know exactly. Look at him. Isn't he just a bundle of love? He's soaking wet. It was raining that day. It was crazy wet. He loved every second of it. And I didn't know if he'd like water. The first time we went up to the top of the world, it was another super rainy day up past Mary Lake, if you don't know where that is. There's literally this creek waterfall. And I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be scared of the water. He's like in the creek, running up it, just splashing everywhere. Heaven on earth. Unplug and relax. We got to unplug sometimes. You do know that these devices are designed to put us in a sympathetic state, a dopamine addicted state. And I do it too, but sometimes we got to unplug and relax. I love what Zig Ziglar said. I read the Bible and the paper every day because I like to know what both sides are up to. Okay? Now, whatever you believe, I'm just saying, and now how many of you, what we're seeing on Facebook, I'm not sure I'm staying a part of this, other than there's a clinical group that I'm a part of that we share cases and stuff that's super helpful. But I'm trying to work on this, Romans 12:18, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. We're not seeing a whole lot of that, are we, these days? I'm going to read this that I wrote because this summarizes my belief on this, because it doesn't matter what you believe politically, but we love to hate, a lot of us. This I posted on there, and there was some hate responses to it, but mostly love. I recently reread The Crucible by Arthur Miller, the true story of a town rallying around finding witchcraft in normal people and murdering them in the name of righteousness. After reading it, it dawned on me that pretty much everyone who's ever hated anyone else, regardless of reason, has believed that they were justified in their hate. From race wars to tribal wars to gang wars to religious wars to political wars to you name it, people believe their hate is righteous. I would submit that no hate is righteous, especially if one of your tenets is say no to hate. Most people, when witnessing one group hating another throughout history, would say the haters were wrong to hate, but the haters believed they were justified and found all sorts of reasons for it. And now today we find so many reasons to hate our political opponents. And we back it up with data that we get from info biased to our side. Are we sure CNN is not focused on a political agenda? Is Fox any less agenda driven? But wait, my side is right! To my friends stewing in hatred toward the other side, regardless of your political affiliation, are you sure you're justified? Will your hatred advance your righteous agenda? What does it do to ourselves when we choose anger and hatred? Zig Ziglar said, poison spoils the vessel that contains it. We sometimes say, but the politician on the other side is actually evil. Do you know what she or he has done? Do you know what their moron followers believe? They're ruining or have ruined our country. I see that crap from both sides. Is one side completely right and one side completely wrong? Do you really think half the country is completely duped and you and your side are 100% correct? Or that your side is the only honest one? I know we're right to hate. It's justified. Welcome to all of us, a long line of people who have chosen hate throughout history. Congratulations, we're the first people ever to be justified in our hate. Now, I'm not talking down at anyone because I'm talking to myself. I've done plenty of it throughout my life. But those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it. I'm also not suggesting everyone should agree. There are important issues being handled right now, and some believe by a great administration and some believe by Satan himself. And their policies carry down the entire government all the way to the local level. I believe that disagreement helps us land somewhere in what's probably a healthier middle. But could some of us maybe be taking it a bit too far? I know I have. Perhaps ask yourself, when was the last time you actually listened, was sincerely trying to understand a person's viewpoint with the opposite political views as yourself? Have you recently listened to a podcast where they interviewed someone with whom you'd normally disagree? If you do, I think you might find they're sincere and not completely crazy, even if you think their political premise is off. I try to do it frequently and I find it helpful. I am a Christian, but I honor the fact that many have different religious beliefs or no religious beliefs. This is the time of Lent, the 40 days before Easter, where some Christians focus on becoming more Christ-like. Those who partake fast, pray, and work to prepare themselves for celebrating the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. This Lent, I'm going to try to see more from others' points of view. I'm going to try to walk a mile in others' shoes and just learn. In my experience, almost everyone has a lot of wisdom and value in their walk in life, no matter how wrong they may be. What if we all chose to try to understand each other and refuse to hear and fuel the hateful rhetoric that seems to be the norm from our political leaders? What if we gave our leaders the message that we weren't going to stand or vote for their political witch hunts and mudslinging? I, for one, am going to try to spread my understanding and care for my fellow man, no matter how I may agree or disagree. Just my 2 cents. Thank you. Thank you. And I just think that we need more of that. And I think there's a reason. Apparently someone counted, and the Bible says 365 times, do not fear. Now, why was he telling me? What is 365? Every single day you're going to mess up. You're going to stress. You're going to walk in fear. But do not fear, for I am with you. So I want to see everybody live in peace. So here's action steps, okay? I'd like everyone on your papers, if you took some notes, great. If you didn't, commit to some actions from this, okay? So here are some possibles. How will I improve my neurospinal health? Maybe I'll do my den rolls every day starting now. And maybe I've never done them before. Wherever you are, just bump up to the next level. How will I ensure good sleep? Maybe go to bed at the same time every single night or within a half hour or so. How will I improve my nutrition? Maybe I'll rewatch the nutrition talk and follow what I committed to 2 months ago that maybe I didn't do as well as I thought I might. We all do it, right? Maybe I'll just get rid of Doritos. I don't know. Not me. I don't eat MSG period because it messes with me. I feel it when it messes with me. What will I commit to with exercise? Maybe 4 days a week. Do something. Maybe sweat 4 days a week. Whatever it takes to make you sweat. How will I enhance my breathing and peace? Maybe box breathing 3 times a day. Maybe put that in your phone. Breathe in your phone. Am I going too fast? No. Okay. What am I committed to doing to unplug? No computer 1 hour before bed. No Facebook for 2 weeks, maybe. Maybe finish out this Lenten season if you're into that with no Facebook. Boy, it's getting It's getting pretty rough on there. I don't know if you guys have noticed the same thing. Okay, so any questions or thoughts on that? I'm going to go through this in a second. Please, by all means. Yep. So the next step is I'm going to invite people who are not currently under care to get an exam. But are there any questions for those of you about anything that we've shared or any comments? Anyone want to share a commitment as they move forward? Anything at all? Maria?
I'm very inconsistent with my sleep, so I'm going to take that one on.
Cool. To bed at the same time every night?
Yeah.
Even if 50 clients need 100 questions answered?
Just cover this thing off.
Bedtime. Yep. Mm-hmm. We all have those distractions. Very good. Anyone want to share anything else?
Trying to get my kids to bed at the same time every night.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah, I feel you. Yes. Good. Corey?
I just have to hop back in my general
Mm.
do that more faithfully, really to see like long-term cure and results. You know, it's not a short-term.
Yeah.
This is not a short-term thing. I want long-term health.
Very, very good. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, very much. Okay, so we had someone call in. I'm not sure who that was or if that person's here, but they asked if tonight qualifies as the discounted exam that we offer when we do our once-a-month chiropractic talk, and the answer is yes. So this is what that looks like. So what we do is when people come in new to us, we do a very thorough examination. We do a posture check. We do a posture screen examination of feeling down the spine. We do a very thorough set of x-rays, unless it's a pregnant mom or an infant in most cases. And then we process it, and then we bring them back and we go over the findings in great detail. And so normally that's $280 to $380, but once a month we offer this for the people at one of these talks for $97. So I don't know if that person is here who asked that, but anyone who's not, okay, very good. Well, welcome, Sarah. Glad to have you. So if anyone wants to do that, then Connor can get you set up. And with that, I think rules, that's important. Got to sign up tonight because we set up specific spaces for that, and you got to complete it within 2 weeks. So if it's 5 years from now, you're like, I came to this talk 25 years ago. we can't do it. Sorry. Great. So I am finished. Oh no, I'm not finished. So the next talk is Supplements Demystified. That is May 13th. If you want to go back and see the exercise talk, we will post this one if you want to share it, the Master Calm and Sleep Better, later, but we haven't posted it yet, of course, because we just finished recording it. But there's a QR code there, and there's one on the, you're not going to see where my laser pointing go over there, but you can scan the code right there, and it takes you right to the YouTube, okay? With that, I am finished. Thank you very much, and good night.